Hi everybody, hi
היי,
Tzipi,
שלום צילי.
hi Rachel
Hi,
Ettun,
hi.
spiritual, no,
spiritual
Spiritual
care
caregiver.
spiritual
or
caregiver.
caregiver, right?
I know Rachel many years,
I
many
don't.
years,
Oh, I
and
know, but not, I don't know her.
I know her many years, and she's doing a beautiful job. Rachel, can you please tell us what spiritual care is?
Spiritual care. First of all, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And it's an
Oh, of
honor.
course. What
And
is
I'm
our
so
pleasure. If
happy.
you can say pleasure, because it's, you'll know in a minute. It's a
Yeah,
serious subject. Yeah, okay.
yeah. It's a serious subject, but it's
In a
also my
very
passion
pleasant
and my
way.
pleasure. Yeah. And I believe in it very much. Because spiritual care, first of all, is the ability to support a person that goes through crisis in life through the spiritual resources. And the crisis in life could be all kinds of crises. It doesn't have to be, people connect it always to end of life, but it doesn't have to
Oh,
be
okay.
end of life. It could be a transition. It could be facing illness or aging or even giving birth, or also, of course, traumas and all kinds of difficulties in life, divorce, retirement, not retirement, like losing your job.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's different challenges in life. And the spiritual resources could be different kind of resources. It could be a conversation about meaning of life. It could be learning how to be. It could be through art, through music, through mindfulness, through walking in nature.
I think it's the space between the professional help, of psychology or psychiatry to the orthodox supporters that, that they go in the hospitals if you want to pray or if you want support from a religious leader. And then there's a void in between that if you don't want either and you want something softer or friendlier, I think this is where you come along.
So,
Mhm.
so what
Right?
actually, what does it include, spiritual care, or what the caregiver? What is his qualification? What he has to go or learn in order to be able to help others?
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I will, it's a good question because I refer to what Tzili is saying. What you're saying about the chaplains in the hospital. So, in the matter of fact, this is how we got into spiritual care in Israel. It was thanks to the Federation of New York that showed us that there's the chaplaincy in the States, that the chaplaincy usually was people that are from religions like ministers, either rabbis or the minister, chaplain, Christian or imam or Buddhist, and they study the clinical ways of listening and being with a person, not through his religion, her religion, but through just being as human beings. We brought it to Israel. We took it out of the denomination, like not connected to religion, because in Israel it's very complicated. So we took it away from being connected to any kind of religion. And we have in Israel programs, training programs that you study 800 hours of yeah, it's a 2-year program.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of a training program like that. It's called Rikma, my program. And we study once a week for 8 hours from 9 to 7, from 9 to 5. And they have also training, 400 hours of training in the field. And in the study, you learn about theology, the way of people reacting to suffering, to death, to loss. We learn the skills of listening, of compassion, listening. And in Israel, and in my program, we take a lot of emphasis on the arts, to use the art, the the music, the creative writing, being in nature as a vehicle to connect to the person as a whole, to the person as a human being.
Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about your background, because you had crossover, because you came from an Orthodox home and you bridge all the time between Orthodoxy and secular Jews and Arabs, and you cross all the time, and basically you feel a place that it's for everybody and you touch everybody somehow. Can you just take us a little bit backwards?
To my story, to my background. Yes, I was raised in a family of very special parents that they made Aliyah. They were born in Chicago and they made Aliyah to Israel in the 50s. They came by boat. Everybody were crying that they are leaving and they won't see them forever. And it was very rare. It was before the 6-Day War, before it was like a thing that people did. And they came here with 2 kids, and I'm the first one born in Israel, the third of 7 children.
Wow.
Yeah. My father was a very special person. He was a genius, a rabbi, and a very outstanding person. He raised us as in the, I would say, the Socratic way of asking questions. Every night, his question to me was, "What's your good question today?"
Oh.
So it wasn't about answers, it was about questions. So it was always questioning things, and I loved learning.
Talmudic, no?
Yeah.
The Talmudic?
Yeah. Very and very, and he did it in a philosophical way also of accepting all questions. It made his life a bit complicated because all of his children chose different ways. My mother didn't understand his way of thinking, and she said, "We're missing only a priest in our family," because she didn't realize what's going on in the different denominations. But it was an honor. So the gate of knowledge was a gate that I was raised to study a lot, to read, to ask questions, and to understand at the end of things that all is one, that we all believe in the same, and that the main thing is the journey, the process of questioning, the walking in life, not products, not like the outcome of something very
So
clear.
you did the questions or also seeking the answers?
So he was, it was the questions, it was to seek for, he lived a very Orthodox life, and we were raised like that, very strict, and looking at all the rituals that we have to do, but it was always with the deep meaning of it. So even though now I don't practice the same life that I was raised by, I am very connected to the roots of the knowledge, of the wisdom, of the depth that Judaism has to offer, or every other religion. And that's why I feel very free. And my father also blessed that way. When I created my nonprofit, Haverut, and the first evening, the event was to bring a blessing event into the hospital where a Christian monk, she came and spoke, a pastor, a Christian one, and an Arab Sufi sheikh came, and my father was the blessing of the Orthodox Judaism. So it was to say we're here with the 3 religions. Wow. And
he didn't mind?
No, he loved it. He loved it. That's what I mean. It's the blessing of, and I would say it's the principle of chaplaincy that we studied in, I had the honor of studying a lot in New York from Michal Springer. She's a very big teacher. And now she was in JTS. Now she's at the Presbyterian Hospital. And Rachel Cowan passed away. She was our mentor and a teacher in spiritual care. And the phrase was from the Bible. There's a phrase, Ba'asher hu sham, that God listened
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are, God will hear you. So the skill and the main essence of a pastoral caregiver, a spiritual caregiver, a chaplain, is to be with the person wherever he, she, they are, and not to judge, not to try and fix, not to bring to your religion, just to be with the person and help them connect to their own spiritual resources. So it will be...
If the spiritual sources include really asking why, the question why. We can go back and, I don't know, I probably will ask your father what he thought about the Holocaust. Why the Holocaust happened to the Jews. Why we are not protected by God that we call him when we need healing. You know, these kind of questions. I want, you know, everybody, I think, I don't know what is the answer given in the process of
it's a beautiful,
care.
Yeah. So Victor Forkel will answer, and that's where I study him a lot, and now we have all the existential philosophy, and also in the Jewish thought. It's not only the why question is very big, and what we want to, and it doesn't always help us. What it brings you into a dead end because things happen. What we learn also from Buddhist approach is this is how the world is. There's life and death, there's illness, there's suffering. This is how a world is created. And the question that could bring us into moving ahead, it will be how. How will I live my life?
I wanted to say, because knowing Rachel and her journey, I don't remember ever getting stuck on the question why.
Yeah, but we have to mention, by the way, that so I have to feel people don't know that you lost a child.
But we'll get to it. But she always focused on the how, and that's how she created her organization. So if you want to tell us, you can tell us a little bit about Haverut.
Yeah, thank you.
Why and how?
Yeah, so that's really the why question is really huge. And it's not huge that I mean that we won't deal with it, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And what we learn is that the most terrible things can happen to you. And if we're asking the question in a victim way of asking questions about life, we stay victims and we suffer, and our suffering grows. And when we acknowledge that this is my journey and this is what I have, and that's where I start to ask, okay, so what will help me? What do I need? What's the meaning of it? How can I learn from it and grow from what is happening? So that's my journey, that when I had my second daughter, I was 25. And after 2 weeks, she began being sick. We thought pneumonia, we thought a cold. Then she was in the hospital. It was a thought that she has a disease that she didn't get vaccinated yet, the strep or pertussis. And then it turned out after 2 months that she's, after her situation deteriorated very much, that she suffers from cystic fibrosis. And that's where I would say that the journey, my first journey in life was through knowledge, through studying about the meaning of life, through asking the big questions. What is life and what is the world and why are we here? And all the books that I studied with my father and others, and that was my search. So then the gate of suffering opened, and now it was not about reading it, but about practicing it. How can I practice life that is meaningful, even though we're going through such a journey of suffering? And a little child has so much pain, so much hospitalizations, and like a death sentence that she's, our mutation is very severe, and she had very hard situations until we got to the age of 8.5, and she was candidate for a lung transplant. And the only place in the world that accepted her was in St. Louis. So we had the privilege of going there. And I remember when we flew to St. Louis, and it was an option that was able, we could do it only because a lot of people helped to create the fundraise for being in the hospital, getting inside. But I remember myself talking to God in the plane and saying, I'm fighting. I'm doing everything that I can. I'm the mother that will want to bring the stone from the moon or the flower, the golden flower for my child, because I will fight. And we had already other children that that I gave birth to. So it was already a family of 5 children that we traveled.
Wow.
The beginning, I went with her alone, and then everybody came, and it was a success. It was she got the lungs. We came back to Israel after half a year, and life began in a new chapter. But then suddenly in myself, I realized that it's temporary, that something that I got a gift, but everything is fragile.
After
And
she got well?
yeah,
Yeah.
after she got the lungs and it was the new chapter, I understand suddenly that time is limited. And that's where I started to practice on my own how to inhale and exhale and understand that there's something precious here. And after that, after a year and a half, she got a chronic rejection of the lungs, and there was no more what to do. So that's where I said we're starting love therapy. It's not, there's no cure, and it's not starting. We had it, and she was 11 and a half, and she died at home in my arms. And when we did that, when I knew that we did all that we could do in the medical way of curing and trying to do the best that we can. And then the lesson was how to let go and to be and to love and to sing and paint and create with her and write in her journal and do all that. That's the meaningful way of being in the world. And she taught me that life could be meaningful and a person could be healthy and creative, even at her last moments of life.
Right.
It's a very deep lesson.
That's amazing, because, it's like going to heaven, not as I don't know how to say it, not as a victim. Going to heaven with a lot of tatsumot nefesh, with a lot of
she had a big heart and a big
but also
spirit.
but also what we wish we will all have, like we need the ability to embrace everything that is on the planet. It's life, is death, but it's to accept it. And it's really very difficult. All of us, to a certain point, think about death, right? And it's I think it's wonderful if somebody will encounter what you are doing early, as early as possible, so they can get the tools of transform yourself.
But I think
that's my vision.
I think in many ways there are things that are given or built in. And people feel differently, think differently. They're surrounded by different people and the different energies and abilities. And for some people, in certain situations, something triggers and you find out that they have different abilities and more layers that can really influence and you can connect with. But the beautiful thing that I always find about Rachel's work is not to focus only on the person that is sick or needs the help. It's the whole surrounding, and create an environment and allow the people that support or need to help or need to really do
even
everything
even more
to help them to be able to help more and get help themselves and function in the best way in a very wide range.
You know, I will contact you because I'm writing now a new screenplay where I deal with a father and son relationships where the older son was killed in a war. And one of them is the father is really running away and actually destroying everything around him because he just cannot nobody actually helps him. And the son is chasing after him to get the support he needs. So what, you know, it's so complicated and wide range, you know, this the spiritual care that most people don't have the luck to be able to think about it early.
Yeah, and that's why what we're trying to do, as Tzipi said, it's my vision, and I'm happy that we have now more partners of understanding that we have to train in it early when we're healthy. We have to, it has to start even from kindergarten, but of course, to be able to speak about our vulnerable places, about our fears.
To cushion everybody.
Yeah, and to open it as questions and as the spiritual resources to learn how to meditate. And meditation doesn't have to be sitting like and doing this. It could be through drawing, it could be through art, it could be through music, but to find what connects you to your healthy core and brings balance into your life and connects you to the meaning of life. And that's where you choose. You are able to choose your own
choice
story.
is really,
to choose your life. And
I think also that it's important to maintain this spirit and this action even when you think you're covered and you're not really covered, because it's not enough to have help or to have somebody watching you or to have somebody financing you. It's really the spirit and emotional activity. Even if you think, oh, it's a waste because, you know, it's not going anywhere, or we can afford to do this, but it's very important that this cushion is basically supporting every side in the equation, because even if you do it, it helps you to do more and to support more. And everybody is growing, and everybody is getting more and more and more all the time. And you know that something has an end, but the spirit is growing all the time, even with it. And
tell me
it's
something.
very important to know.
So you also, for example, give spiritual care to people with post-trauma?
Yes. There are specialties in different areas. So it could be a spiritual care provider that is specializing in that field. This is one thing that I would say. And also, as about what Tzili said before, is like that in my organization, we also support the environment in the way that it's a spiritual systemic approach. So that's why now they call me in the morning, the head nurse of the hospice, asking for immediate support for her staff because they're going through a traumatic experience of so many losses. And tomorrow we'll have a session for the nurses at the Botanical Garden to sit together and to listen to them, because if we don't care for the nurse and care for the doctor and care for the secretary and for the family member and the patient herself, we won't do the work. So everybody
became acoustic in the corona. In the corona, you know, in the hospitals, the nurses and the staff, really broke. They lost their, you know, everything. But by the way, there is a difference. This is a weird question. There is a difference between grieving somebody who died, let's say a child, in sickness or in war. There is some kind of
It's a beautiful question. Yes, it's a different, yes.
Like when a son falls in the war, it's almost like, I don't know how to say it, but there was kind of a cause for the death.
The reason
why is not really the why anymore.
It's not a
but
way.
sickness is more difficult. No?
Sickness is difficult, but you can say, I thought you're saying also the difference between sudden death in war or accident or in a out there in South America, or from a car accident or falling from a mountain, or the slow death of a sickness when you can say goodbye and you can do a closure with if it's a parent, or ask forgiveness if it's a spouse or whatever. So it's a lot of, yes, it's not weird. This is how we study. This is what we do in our studies, in our trainings, to understand there are different layers, different kinds of loss.
Broad knowledge, unbelievable. It's not like most doctors are looking through very specific thing that they can do, and like a bone but in what you're talking about, it's very broad. I mean,
but grief is grief, and everybody is taking it differently, and everybody needs support, and everybody choose their way to handle it. No matter what the reason is for the tragedy, you have to deal with this somehow.
Who is taking care of you?
True question. I just came in the morning, I was with my psychologist. So I always say that we have to have the triangle. We have to have the best doctor when I'm talking about disease, about sickness. You have to have medical care that is very good for our body. I have to have the psychological support of a psychologist, of an expert going into the pathology, to questioning things from the past or whatever, and the spiritual support. That it's the 3 dimensions. So I had my psychologist in the morning, and then I had my peer group of friends that I just came now that we read together. There's the book, The Choice of Edith Eger. Have you read it? No. It's a must book.
Choice by whom?
Edith Eger, Eger. It's amazing. She is 96, lives in San Diego. Look on YouTube. She's a Holocaust survivor.
What's her first name?
Edith. And these are like when you have what we call Havruta, that you have like the both of you are sitting together and studying about people and meeting people. So this is a spiritual resource for me to study with a friend, to talk about the meaning of life, to practice the meditation, to be together. So I need the spiritual support. I need the psychologist, and that's why one of my goals is that the doctors and nurses will get supervision the same as we in the therapy professions.
Right.
You're not allowed to give treatment as a therapist, as a psychologist, social worker, without getting supervision. And the nurses and doctors work with such places, and they don't get it. So that's why I'm involved in medical school and nursing school to teach the way of caring for yourself, and also dealing with the deep issues of life.
The name of her organization is Haverut, which means Ruth was the name of her daughter, and Haverut is friendship, and it's togetherness.
It's very nice.
So this is the meaning in Hebrew. But the thing is that maintenance of life has all kind of departments. And I think if people would understand that all the departments need to be oiled all the time in order to support each other, so then you can face all kind of moments on every level in a better way. And whether you do it alone or together or your way, everybody chooses their way and whatever they need, because it's very personal, very couture, the way to listen to yourself and build all the parts that you need in order to keep going in the best way. This is an art by itself that everybody should learn, because this is the only way you can really cushion
Yeah,
yourself
but you know, but
and
maybe
everybody else.
the question is people from a specific culture, or people who are religious. Is it easier for them, you know, to confront questions like death or losing, grieving?
No, I don't think so. I think at the beginning you think that this sector has answer, and this sector doesn't have answers. Like, I'm without God, so I don't have the answer of why did this happen. And I remember when I studied by Michal at JTS, we studied with a Muslim imam, and he said to us, "You Jews are always angry. We have we have in our religion, we accept, we say thank you to Allah, and we have to love and to bring back love, and that's our religion. And you question, you have Job that asks questions, you have Abraham that asks, why did you do this in
And the
stone?"
Haverut is arguing with each other.
Yeah, and you're arguing, and we are accepting. And it was also, as you see sometimes when I work in the ultra-Orthodox community, and women that are amazing and they have lost kids, or they are themselves ill with breast cancer. And at the beginning, you have the ritual and the words of faith. But then when you sit quietly with the person, with no answers and no rushing. And then the pain comes, because we're human beings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel pain, and you feel alone, and you feel
maybe because the religious ones, you know, cannot really express it.
No, so that's what I mean. So we sit with the person a few minutes or a few hours or a few days, and then the pain comes, and suddenly someone can be afraid of it. Oh, does it mean that I'm not believing, that I'm not a true believer? And then I open Psalms with them, and I show them. There's a beautiful phrase, Ki avivi mi azavuni v'Adonai ya'asfeni. My father and mother left me, and God saved me, embraced me. And I say, even King David with Psalms said to God, why did you do this? Or, here I'm alone with no father and mother. And that's where the tears come together. And we see that the Bible and Psalms has given us the permission to feel, to explore all of our emotions, and to ask questions, and to say that we're upset, and to be there, and then to pray.
Complicated because they cannot do it, you know, in a regular.
They can. I do it with people. I do it with people,
and they cannot do it with their community. Like, they cannot express, you know, those incredible pain. You just have to, you know, God. That's it. And now they can sit with you. And
it's about Rachel, that she crosses over because she understands where they come from. She can answer them their language, and she can take them to the other side, or to the place that they can relate to. So when you have this knowledge and understanding and empathy, you can cross over and take them more in a more support.
And there's a lot of programs also in New York of spiritual of chaplaincy with Orthodox.
Who's financing it?
With Satmar people. I mean, in my program, that's why I'm going to New York, to the States, to Boston to fundraise, because it's a nonprofit organization, and I need the funding from generous people. So this is part of the work. It's really to find partners in the world that wants to create a holistic approach to connect everybody, and really everybody, the Orthodox community, the Arab community, the secular Jewish community, the secular, all denominations. It doesn't matter, because we are all the same, and we all deserve to be connected to what is bigger than us, in a way that you can call it God, or you can call it love, or you can call it the universe. It doesn't matter, but it gives the serenity of humbleness, to be humble, and to be able to create your own prayer. What is my own prayer this morning? What is my own prayer when I go to sleep at night? What am I grateful about? how can I say like the 3 things that I'm grateful for? And that makes, now we know from neuroscience, it makes my well-being better just to do this, to practice every day. And for sure, it connects me to being a more compassionate person, a more grateful person. And that's where I become more generous to others. Yeah. And that's how our society will be healthier. It's not only in the hospital, it makes our society a healthy society because we are all connected to what really matters and not to the separation, and we're not victims. We can choose our own attitude. We can choose our own way of living by connecting to the meaning of life.
That's very inspiring. Listen,
Tzili, there's so many people.
I just told you that it's very inspiring, Tzili. It's very important to say it 100 times. Very inspiring, the whole approach.
I know.
But you should acknowledge that most people don't.
But that's why we have her on. You know, now I forgot what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's gone. It will come later. Later. But the main thing is that it's still going and it's growing and it gets much more recognition and it's getting wider and wider. And I think the understanding that we all need help and it's okay to ask for it and it's okay to get it. It's very helpful. And I see how her territory is growing all the time and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So Rachel, thank you.
Tzili, thank you for introducing me.
And continue growing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And good luck and we'll talk more.